of course, the idea is to build and build and build this. So the next stage is, of course, in September, and the next rebellion, and onwards from there, because we need large numbers of people, large numbers of recruits, large numbers of rebels. So I'm going to end there because I think I've said quite enough. In fact, I definitely said quite enough. So shall we pass? Can I pass back to you, Dave?
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was inspirational, I'd say. Yeah, what would you like to happen next, Oliver? Do you want to take maybe a few questions, have a discussion?
Yeah, great. I'd like to come off the big screen because I'll.
Oh, oh sorry. I apologize for doing that. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah. Any questions then for Oliver? Gwen?
Is it, like, I know you said this, but is it really true that people don't hate Extinction Rebellion? Because I don't know, I like when I imagine going door knocking for Extinction Rebellion, I'm imagining like being sworn at and having doors slammed in my face and that kind of thing. Like, does that, I mean, I'm assuming it happens occasionally, but is it really mostly just people saying, I don't like you sitting in the road? Like, is that it?
Okay, this is, I mean, that's such a good question. Well, I'm so pleased you've asked that question because it's one of the things that has really, you can feel, I hope you can feel my enthusiasm, and it's there because people don't hate us. I tell you 100 times, I don't know how many doors have I knocked on. I don't know. I probably had a couple of hundred conversations. There was one person who said, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you, and walked away. One person, that's all. And he was in my local village, for goodness sake. You know, he wasn't, I mean, I expected to get loads of abuse from Hackney. I thought they're going to give me a really hard time. But I do know I did not have a single cross word. And it's one of the revelations to me is I just wonder if our core support might just be in these working class communities. I would like to, and we will be doing it in Cornwall. I'd like to cover a couple of white working class communities, maybe housing estates, large housing estates, where we can go around there. I bet we've got more support there than we think. But I can honestly promise you, hand on heart, that I was bowled over by the positivity of the approach to us.
That's great. So before we carry on, can I just confirm that, does anyone mind if we continue recording for these questions? Because this is all really interesting. So maybe put your hand up if you object to being recorded. Pam, do you
I don't
object?
object, but I think everyone should know that their faces are being recorded too. The screen is being recorded. If you're not happy with that, then you need to say, or turn your video off.
Okay, great. So that everyone seems happy. Back to the questions. Yes, so quite a few questions. I might have begun to miss people. I saw Jenny, I saw Pam, I saw Julia, and then I saw Wayne, I think. And anyone else who I missed, put your hand up. Jenny, do you want to go?
Yeah. On the 3.5%, is that as in 3.5% connected and kind of emotionally supporting XR, or is that 3.5% people on the streets? Is there kind of any clarity on that? I'm only asking for semantics, really.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. The 3.5 is about 3.5 active supporters, but it doesn't mean on the streets, no.
That's really good to know. Okay, so are you happy with that, Jenny? Yeah, great. Okay, then Pam, Julia, Wayne, Gwen. You're happy. Julia, then.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind me asking this. I don't go out door-to-door knocking. I'm disabled with mobility problems. I was even asked by the Green Party to do that, and I can't. What I do is I use the phone a lot. I don't do as you call it, bell ringing. But anytime I'm on the phone with either the bank or Amazon or any company, PayPal, anybody, I'm always asking these questions. What do you feel about the climate? I start off like that. And then eventually I tell them about XR and if they could join. And I keep meeting people from all over the world in Italy. And it's just really nice to have that rapport because people are on board. They want to do something. And even in Aberystwyth a couple of weeks ago, I met a lady in a charity shop, Salvation Army, and she said, I want to join. I want to be out on the streets. I want to get arrested. She cares. She's a mum. But anyway, apart from that, I just wanted to say, back in 2019, and sorry people that know this, there was an opportunity to have a People's Assembly. It was Mark Windows and Piers Corbyn, who you probably know are conspiracy theorists. They put a call out months in advance for people to come and talk about what they felt about the climate crisis. And Nexar didn't come. I thought they were going to. So now the whole village is swayed towards climate denial, conspiracy theories, Trump followers, and flat earth believers, and they'd spray everything they can to kill it. So basically, I'd love it if we could try again. Maybe I live on my own. I'm really isolated because my closest groups are 45 minutes to an hour and a half away by car. And yeah, I don't have a buddy, you know. I mean, it's like I keep on going, but I'm tired of it, to be honest. I just feel that some people who are isolated and disabled need a bit more support. I know that there's such a thing as inclusion, but I can't get to all the meetings physically. I've got other things to do. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. I'm not quite sure if there's a point I ought to respond to in there. I mean, I think, of course, I think the buddy bit is really interesting because one of the strong pieces of advice we give is don't ever go on your own. You should always go with a buddy. And that doesn't necessarily mean you should both be on the same door. You can do alternate doors or opposite sides of the street, but that should always be two of you. And I came across an interesting, thinking about disabilities, I came across an interesting example where the second rule we have is never go into somebody's house. But I knocked on a door and there was a guy who was wheelchair bound and really, really keen on talking and wanted me to go into the house and talk in the house. And I wouldn't do it. And ever since I thought, was that the right decision or was that not the right decision? And it's like, so that there are always, I mean, I think when you're talking with people who have this, because sometimes, you know, somebody might be profoundly deaf and it's like, what should the approach be? So we've got a lot, I think we've still got a lot to learn about the best way to manage situations like that.
Great stuff. Okay, then we've got Wayne, then Gwen, then Pam and David. Muted.
Sorry, couldn't find the cursor. Yeah, going back to what Oliver was just saying about going into the sort of working class areas, and we've definitely got a fan base there. When we did actions of its kind in Cardiff, and again when we did the big march in Glasgow through the poorer areas, you might remember Di and Pam, because I think you reported it to me. The initial response was arm's length, and then it just like lighting a fire under it. The people actually love us, and the fact that we stand up for what we believe in and we don't take crap off people and we call out rubbish when we see it, they love us for that. And a lot of them, I think, are reticent to get involved simply because that is not the nature of them. Their meetings are at football matches and things like that. And to get involved in politics per se is something that they don't culturally normally do. And we've got to get past that, and we've got to get them to come out, because they are the people that make the movement. and we need them. And they do. They actually love what we do because they know it's for them and their kids, and they know that.
Thanks, Wayne. That's such an interesting point, because that I make an additional point to that, which is nobody ever listens to them. And that's why our active listening is such a key element in this. We are not there to tell them how great XR is. We are there to say to them, we want to hear what you've got to say to us. We need your voice in this. And for me, that's what breaks the ice almost immediately. They don't mind that you've got a badge on you. If you're saying to them, you know, what you have to say is, to me, is far more important than anything I might want to say to you, it immediately opens the door. And of course, they make the connections. They make the connections between the different crises. They know what's going on. And it takes no, for me, you know, it's like, I can't tell you how extraordinary it was to me, because I'm such a different person to the people I was talking to. I expected an additional barrier, and it simply wasn't there.
Also, people say to us that we're great, we love what you do. We need to tell them that they're great too, that they can do it too, that they can save us and they can make us stronger, and we can make them stronger too. Give them, we need to do that. And I think that's the most important thing is, you know, together we are stronger. And what you were just saying about going to the door and feeling like you're going to be told to go away because of your cultural difference, as it were. I have the same problem because of my nose ring and my heavy metal t-shirts and my skinhead. People are worried the instant they see me, they think thug, and they couldn't be further from the truth. And people usually roughly a couple of times to make me to realize I'm not that thug that they think I am. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs, I don't believe in violence. I'm a karate instructor. And it takes people a while, but when they realize what I am, suddenly the barriers come down.
I just saw that Julia had never seen you as a thug. It's great.
That is great. Okay, we're going to take a question from Gwen next.
I was wondering how much experience you have with specifically farming communities, because I think there's quite a unique challenge there, because I think farmers have felt very like personally targeted by the environmental movement. Like one experience I had was I went into the butcher's shop and asked him to put up a poster for a Heading for Extinction talk. And he said, no, I won't put up anything that's against farmers. And obviously I didn't want to argue with him on the spot. So, you know, I just said, okay, and left. But I feel like there's very much a feeling that among farmers that they're being unfairly targeted, and that we're very much like the other. So I'm wondering if there's an additional barrier there that you might not have addressed yet.
So what an interesting question that is, Gwen. The answer is we are organic farmers. So we are in the farming community ourselves, and I haven't done any 3.5 with farming communities. It's not to say they don't need to be done, and it's not to say they won't work. I simply haven't done it. I've looked for communities which are not familiar to me. Yeah. I understand exactly what you say. I know many farmers who think we are, you know, out to undermine them. But I think to use this approach, I think it would work as well with farmers as it does with anybody else. I really do.
Okay.
But we need to try it. We haven't tried it, so we do need to try it.
Brilliant.
Perhaps that's a role for Mid Wales to do. Go out and tackle the farmers.
Are we going to go to a couple of retired farmers now, Pam and David?
Yeah, organic farmers too. Hi, Oliver.
Yeah, I'm really interested in your last comment, Ollie, because we retired from organic farming about 10 years ago. And we live in a farming area where I would imagine 9 out of 10 farmers would have the same sort of reaction to XR as Gwen has had, mainly from the viewpoint of the unknown ahead of them. Most farmers like to do next year what they did this year, but only better. And faced with the sort of difficulties coming up, I'm sure most of them are on really shifting sands, and anything new would be a challenge, and more than a challenge. Anyway, that wasn't the question I was going to ask, but I'm interested. You you got through question 1, question 2, question 3, and then you got to the point where you started asking for details. You started asking them to sign up, and I just wondered very briefly, could you say what the basic details that you hope to get from them, such that the local group or the 3.5 group in the area or whatever would make use of those details, if that's okay, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I'll answer the question in a moment. I just wanted to go back to the farming, because this is the first time anybody's asked me a question about the farming community. So, and I still think if I'm imagining going to any local farmer and saying what I've said to you this evening, and I would expect the reaction of that farmer to be exactly the same as any other member of the community. I don't see why it should be different. I mean, they are close to the land. They might think that, you know, Extinction Rebellion is out to undermine them, but this isn't about Extinction Rebellion. Not at the beginning. At the beginning, it's about understanding where they are. And I think everybody wants to know, you know, everybody wants to tell other people what their position is. And farmers, you know, they work on the land, they're close to the land, they've seen the changes taking place. So I would expect them to be pretty forthcoming, actually. But in answer to your specific question, sorry, long way, all the way around the houses. So I don't know if you're used to or familiar with using QR codes for your recruits. Yeah. So the QR codes, you know, the information that they have on them is no more than name, address, postcode, and phone number. That's the information you get. I mean, if you might have your own, because you're going around with a clipboard, because this is a survey, you might want to have other questions on the survey that, you know, you specifically ask that is specific to your local groups. But that's the only information that we would expect to get from the household, because actually they don't want to give you too much. They won't give you very much information because they still don't know you. So, you know, you're lucky to get away with all of that, frankly, these days.
That's great. Okay, so before we move on to next steps, does anyone else have any more quick questions for Oliver? Nope. Everybody seems... Oh, yeah, we've got Susie.
Hiya.
Hi.
Hi. It's great to hear your enthusiasm, and it's really good news about the door-to-door. And I think connecting with people directly is really important for both sides. I was thinking, one of the things that, from my perspective, one of the things that draw me the most to Extinction Rebellion is, firstly, that they're, you know, really doing something where, like, even though there's lots of other charities and groups, it feels like Extinction Rebellion are really sort of putting, you know, making stuff happen and really trying to do something about it, and the amount of care and passion and love that I see coming out of it. And I see what I see that I like the most about the way it exists is in the element of community and the element of really recognizing the emotion related to the dire situation that we're in, and the sort of grieving and the healing and that side of things, the connecting and the really sort of not just facts and figures, but really feeling the emotions together, what we're going through. and also the creativity and the joy when you see some of the protests and some of the actions and the costumes and the things that, you know, all of that stuff. And I know myself, and like probably quite a lot of people who have that attraction to it, maybe don't necessarily have that sort of courage to be perhaps more confrontational or kind of rebellious in the action that we would want to take. So I feel like in the communication about what Extinction Rebellion stands for, there's a huge emphasis in the sort of, if you're with us, you want to get arrested, and you're one of those few people that we need to make that huge effect. Whereas I'm aware that even at the beginning, they were talking about the fact that you either need a small number of people who are willing to get arrested and take those risks, or you need a lot of people making more gentle actions. And I feel like it's be good if there was more of an emphasis on the fact that there's a place for both within Extinction Rebellion. And it doesn't just mean that you've got that gung-ho sort of, I'm, you know, do you know what I mean?
Oh yes, Susie, I know exactly what you mean, and the Look Up, Step Up talk is divided into 4 sections, and the 4th section is, what are we going to do? What's the next step? And that emphasizes, well, actually, it's wrong to say emphasizes. It incorporates all the stuff that you've just described. It is about sense of community. It is about regen. It is about doing what you feel comfortable with. And it is also, but it's also about a pathway. It's also about join us on this journey, and you can stop on the journey wherever you want to. Some of us might end up on a motorway, but you might, you know, your journey might end up designing a banner, or in media and messaging, or wherever it is, or holding a group together. And it's like, so the great thing is that you know, we are a very widely encompassing family, and it's like, you know, well, we all know from all the people that we meet in XR that we're all very different, and yeah, so that is a key element in the talk. And I might just say, because I suspect we'll finish in a moment, that just to say that so much has changed since 2019 that we've changed the talk to reduce the element in it which is about doom, and increase the element which is positive and about what we can do. And I think soon we'll reduce the element about doom to a very, very small element in it, because it certainly feels to me most people now know what's happening. You know, they might not know the detail, and they might not know the full seriousness of it, but they know what's happening. And we can use the first, you know, in a 30 or 35-minute talk, we could use 5 minutes at the beginning, which is like an introduction. This is why we are here. We're here because A, B, and C, and then move on to all the other elements, including what you've just described.
Thank you.
That is brilliant. Okay, so maybe we're going to talk about our next steps in the next 10 minutes before we shut up shop, unless anyone has any very quick questions to finish up on. Nope. Okay, great. Then I suppose this is technically also a question, which is, Oliver, how do we, being, you know, half a dozen or thereabouts local groups, get involved, if we want to, which I imagine a lot of us do, with the 3.5 project? Now, you're a local group supporter. There are also local organisers in the 3.5 project, is that right? And then we've got a question from Wayne as well. Do you want to come in before Oliver does, Wayne?
Mute off. Right, there we go. I've got to go. We've got things to do. I just like to say, Oliver, that was absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And I'm not a great door-to-door person, but I might actually go for it. So thank you. Just keep up the fight for everybody else. You're brilliant. Thank you, mate.
Brilliant. See you on the doorstep.
Well, Nostar, yeah.
Nostar. I can't remember what the question was, Dave.
Getting involved.
Oh yes. Okay, getting involved. So the first way to get involved is to sign up for booking up a talk, because the talk is the key element in the process, and you'll need a speaker for that talk. And you can sign up at on the 3.5. Oh goodness. It's on the website, or through me, or through any of you've got. Isn't Dora your local group supporter?
Yeah, Dorothy.
Yeah. Oh, it's Dorothy. Dorothy.
Sorry. So yeah, I only have two handles. Yeah, you can use me, and I can certainly do that, or Bran, and I can link with either of those two, and so that's fine. Yeah, I was at a 3.5 communities meeting tonight, just before this meeting, so I've got, yeah, I know how to link in. That's fine, because that's about trying to link in with the local scientist if possible, so we're just trying to think that one through at the moment.
So,
great.
If I could just say, Dave.
Yeah.
Once you're linked in, then you'll get all the information, the script, and the local survey form, and all that stuff comes through as soon as you've booked in for the talk. We have a list of speakers, and we're training up more all the time. So I would hope that there's one within range for you, but the thing is, as soon as you put the request in, then Tim can get back to you and discuss. If there's a problem with getting a speaker, can discuss doing an induction for a speaker locally.
Okay, that's brilliant. In that case, I suppose we could do a quick temperature check on who would like to take action and get involved with the 3.5 project locally in their town or village or what have you. I would. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of. So, yeah. So we've got quite a few people. That's great. Okay, so we're gonna be giving Dorothy lots to do by the sound of it, getting us all set up there. So I'm sure you don't mind, do you, Dorothy? Dorothy.
I'm just going to say it might be useful if we have a think about whether we kind of join forces and head for one particular area, one particular village, and try it out, and then see where we get to. Suit me, because I'm happy to, as you know, to go wherever. So we might want to think about that perhaps for next week. Yeah,
that's
okay.
Good idea. We've got Julia now.
Yeah, can you all come to Fairbourne, please?
Brilliant. Yeah, they're going to be underwater, aren't they? So that's a really interesting place to try. Okay, brilliant. In that case, I think we can wrap up now. Does anyone have any final questions, thoughts, or utterances that they would like to make before we go and eat food? Pam does.
I'd really like to thank you, Oliver. I think you've been very impressive. I think we're all up and ready to go on that one, and yeah, very inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, let's all give thanks to Oliver, who was inspirational, I would say. So thank you, Oliver. Great. Oliver.
Oh, could I just say thank you to all of you as well? It's just lovely to be part of this great group, I think. And good luck. I really hope you have real success, and I hope your plans come off. And brilliant meeting you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Great talk.
Thanks, Oliver.